77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts, including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. The More Money Show with Steve Moore. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, folks. This is the More Money Show. And my one of my good friends and somebody I admire greatly has been nominated by Donald Trump to be the head of the Organization of American States, which is a really important economic and foreign policy position in terms of dealing with basically North America. And that is Lee Rizzutto. He is also a great businessman, a great supporter of Donald Trump. And Lee, when are you going to get confirmed for that? You've been waiting a long time. It's ridiculous how long this is taking. I have about 20 friends like you who are ripping, raring, ready to go, and they can't get vote in the Senate.
So I had my, first of all, thank you for having me on, Steve, and greetings to your audience. I had my Senate hearing. I got voted out of the hearing, and now we're just waiting, as everyone else. I believe there's over 150 individuals waiting for the floor vote from the Senate.
It's ridiculous. I mean, Lee, we are 6 months or so into the Trump presidency. How can he run a government if he can't get his people in? I mean, there's so many people like you that have been appointed to very important positions for our economy, for our national security, for our foreign policy, for our energy policy. And I don't know, it just makes me quite angry that the Senate is sitting on its hands. You've been approved by the committee, right? Just like most of my friends have been, and the Senate is doing nothing.
So, Steve, I'm not familiar with all of the rules. However, there are rules in place, and it includes both sides, and that process perhaps is designed to slow things down somewhat.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we need both sides to coalesce and put politics aside and say, hey, these are good people that are here to help the country and fix the country.
That's right.
And let's be smart and put them in place. There's a lot of talent out there. I'm not just
speaking
on my own behalf, but there's a great many individuals that could do quite a bit for the government regardless of party.
I couldn't agree more. And, I've even said, like, even when, the Democrats win and they get their people in, I'm like, let's confirm them. I mean, the people voted. They want this president. They want this president's people in, unless there's some, reason why these people shouldn't be confirmed. And that's the case in some cases, but not most. And so anyway, it just makes me angry. But let's talk about what you will do. Tell us about your responsibilities and tell us what your objectives are.
Well, Steve, the Organization of American States is actually the oldest organization in American history. It actually predates the UN. It goes back to 1889 when it was first formed. And the organization itself, the purpose of it was the democracy and the unification of the Western Hemisphere. So perhaps today, now more than ever before in its entire history, is that, of tremendous importance, to the entire Western Hemisphere, particularly to the United States.
And how many countries will you be intercoursing with? So basically, it's probably over 30, right?
Yes, it is 34 countries. It's Canada, U.S., Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean.
Wow.
But in addition, it is so important that in addition to the 34 member countries, there's 70 observant countries, everyone from China, Russia, most of Western Europe, all around the world. There's 70 countries that have permanent observers assigned to Organization of American States for the purpose of ultimately improving their relations and doing more with those countries.
So, Lee, I've always been a big fan of the Monroe Doctrine. And for those who don't know that from their history books, that's basically that we want some of these, Asian countries and European countries to stay out of our backyard. And it's basically that we need to be unified in the Americas as two continents against the influences of some of these other nations oceans away. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely, Steve. This is our backyard. These are our neighbors. We should view it as family for the most part. And we need to put all our efforts in to further developing the relations in the Western Hemisphere and the importance of an organization such as this. Quite frankly, we spend probably 1/100th the investment. I don't call it just an expense. I call it an investment of what we pay for our contribution and Organization of American States compared to the UN. It's completely,
right.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need that. I would argue, and I think you would too, that the Organization of American States is a lot more important than the United Nations, which never accomplishes anything. So you will be in soon. What are some of the things that will you be working on trade issues, Lee?
So, Steve, I think a topic that's very sensitive, particularly to our political leaders in the U.S. and around the globe, is the amount of money China goes around the world with an unlimited checkbook, putting up bridges here and ports here, and basically buying their way into the countries. And how do you compete with someone that has an unlimited checkbook? And I've given this a lot of thought, and my belief is how the United States can win is by bringing jobs and trade to these countries. So ultimately, we cannot produce everything that we need in this country product-wise. Of course, there should be a strategic focus on the items that we must produce in the United States. But the what we need goes far beyond what we have the ability to produce just in raw manpower besides anything else. So if we could bring trade and manufacturing to these other countries within the Western Hemisphere, ultimately you're bringing them jobs, you're giving people livelihoods, and you become more important than the guy with the checkbook.
Well, also, I mean, that's a great point. But also, since our number one adversary in the world today really is China, if we have a great relationship with, our friends in Central American countries and the South American countries and the Caribbean, I've always wanted the United States and Mexico and Canada and others to be, the dominant continent of the world. We can be with respect to finances, with respect to energy, with respect to resources. And so I would love to see that. I wonder what you and the president think.
Absolutely. That should be our goal and our focus, and I'll certainly make it mine. I believe that our relationship will grow exponentially through the focus that I want to give at Organization of American States, together with expanding the trade potential that we have. We could become tremendously important to each other.
And so the president, I'm sure, agrees with you, or he wouldn't have appointed. By the way, I have to say, Lee, I'm just so impressed with the job this president is doing in his first, 5 or 6 months in office with the tax bill and with trade deals and other things. I mean, it's a remarkable thing to see how, and you've known the president for a long time. You live there in Palm Beach, so you see the president all the time at Mar-a-Lago. But I have to say, and I know he greatly admires you. Or, by the way, I'm talking to Lee Rizzutto, who is he's been appointed to be the head of the Organization of American States by Donald Trump. But I'm just amazed, constantly amazed by the victories of this president.
Steve, two things. Number one, he had tremendous successes during his prior term in Trump 45. Yes. However, 99% were unreported. That, the media did their best, to put a negative spin on every accomplishment he had, starting with record unemployment in all ethnicities and measurements.
Yes, Hispanics and blacks did best.
So he had tremendous success during Trump 45, and now even more so because you have the cylinders all firing in synchronization.
Right.
That you have a team that is working together with a common goal, and that goal is the success of America and for the benefit of the American people.
So one question on the way out, I'm talking to the great Lee Rizzutto, who will be the new head of the Organization of Americas. Are you what do I call you, Mr. Ambassador? What is your title?
Yes, Ambassador. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ambassador, soon to be. So my question on the way out, and I've only got about 3 minutes left, Lee, but one of the things that caught my attention was your analysis of the trade situation with many of these countries, and you made a really important point, and I want to bring this, if you haven't already, to the attention of the president, that if you look at it on a per capita basis, the inflows and the outflows, it sort of tells a different story than the trade deficit numbers.
So, Steve, let me preface with the fact that one, I strongly believe in, the president's reciprocal tariff policy. Right. And, we need to treat each other globally fairly and all be on the same playing field. But while doing so, I think it's very important to look at the population country by country, because certainly if Mexico has, just use round numbers, a little over 100 million people, and we have 330 million people, well, 100 million cannot buy to the level of 330. So there needs to be some balance and perhaps formula established on one country versus another country, what their potential is. But the bottom line minimum should be that the tariff rate really needs to be reciprocal and equal on both sides, regardless how many people are in one country or another.
So what does that story tell you? That we have pretty much reciprocal trade, right?
So we have quite often, actually, many of these countries on a per capita basis is buying more from the U.S. than we are buying from them.
I mean, by on a per person basis, right? Right.
Correct.
Right.
However, to be fair to America and every taxpayer in America, when we want to sell to those countries, their rate of tariff needs to be no greater than our rate. So it's just unfair that if you're going to ship a car to Europe or Asia or anywhere in the world, and we're 5% and they're 50%, well, that's just totally obscene and unfair. So the rates need to be equal, and certainly then we could give credit for the countries that have a smaller population but per capita is buying more on a per capita basis. Then perhaps there's some type of way of acknowledging that and giving credit for that.
Well, it's a really great point, and you and I are going to work on that issue together, because I think it really is a different framework for looking at trade. I mean, obviously, a small country like Costa Rica isn't going to run a trade surplus with the United States because we're so much bigger than they are. Well, I hope, Lee Rizzutto, that you'll come back on the show once you're confirmed, and we can talk more about this. And congratulations on your appointment. I know you'll do an amazing job. That's Lee Rizzutto, folks, the appointee by Donald Trump to run the Organization of American States, which is like 35 countries, an incredibly important position. Thanks for your service to our country. Folks, this is The More Money Show, and we will be right back.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. 77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.